Hey guys, webinar for iOS 14 starting now. Let's start. So let's get started, guys. Yay, so very important, this incredible introduction video. Here we are. Before we get started, can you hear me well? Can you hear and see me well? If yes, I honestly don't want this to be a monologue because we all have enough videos to watch and stuff. I want this to be more like a dialogue between all of us, right? With some rules. If not, it's going to be a little bit chaotic. But if you have any kind of question throughout the next 60, 70 minutes, feel free to just write them down in the chat. You can also raise your hand if you want, whatever fits you better. As I said, I'm going to present a little bit of fear in the beginning, not more than 6, 7, 8 minutes, but with the hottest new topics from the brand new press release of Facebook. Then we can already do a little bit of Q&A. Then I'm going to take you inside my ad account and I'm show you how to verify your domain and decide for these 8 conversion events and stuff. And then we're just going to do open Q&A. That's more or less the plan for the next 60 to 70 minutes. The plan is to be done by 6:30. But I have nothing to do until 6:45. So if we stay until 6:45, for me, that's perfect. If you have to leave earlier, that's all good. There's going to be a replay, which is going to be sent via email to you automatically. So guys, you're motivated? Yes? No? Maybe? Who of you actually who of you is actually an iPhone user? Nice. So I don't know how many of you have joined one of our masterclasses in person in Barcelona and stuff, but I always like to start off webinars and masterclasses with a practical exercise. So guys, all the iPhone users, take out your phone. Take out your phone because I want to show you what the heck are we actually talking about with this iOS 14 update. So who of you knows if Safari is already tracking or is actually preventing tracking from all of the users? So because the fact is it's already taking place right now. Okay, so there are 2 things I wanted to show you. On your iPhone, just click on settings, or this one, settings, and then you just scroll down a little bit. You scroll down all the way to Safari. Okay, which is, for me, it's like password, email, contacts, calendar, notes, and then there is Safari. And if you click on Safari and you scroll down a little bit, okay, you will already see that there is a section that's called privacy and security. And in this second, and we're now on the 2nd of February, it already has activated by default prevent cross-site tracking, fraudulent website warning, and check for Apple Pay. Okay, and the other thing is like this block all cookies per default is deactivated. So that's one thing. And the second thing I wanted to show you is when you open Safari now on your phone, just go to the Safari icon and open, for example, adsaccelerator.com. I mean, you can also open whatever website you want, but let's, for example, go to adsaccelerator.com. And then here on the left, on the left side at the top, there it says AA, right? To change the text size, if you click on that, And the last thing that it says is privacy report. Okay, click on that privacy report and boom, you can see in real time all the trackers. You can switch between websites and trackers. You go to trackers, and if you scroll down here, you see that right now in this specific second, Safari on adsaccelerator.com, they are already exactly, well, you can see which platforms are tracking, like Google, because I run Google ads, Facebook, obviously I run Facebook ads, LinkedIn, because I have the LinkedIn Insights tech installed, also do retargeting on LinkedIn, Taboola, because I run native advertisement there. And you can already see how many trackers have been prevented from tracking in this moment and how many still work. So we see that privacy is becoming a more and more important issue. And what is going to happen very soon, most likely in the next couple of weeks, in the US it's already there, it depends on the country, is that exactly, Jennifer? Bueno, ¿qué enseñas, Jennifer? No lo veo. What is?
Dice, no hay suficientes datos para generar un reporte.
Bueno, if that's the case, to show what I wanted to show, because it needs to load a little bit, you can also go to whatever website. What I would do, for example, you can also go to like the website of the company of my girlfriend. Well, she works is like bioderma.es, and there you can better see this because for me in the morning was the same. I was like, what? I'm pretty sure that I have some trackers installed. And if you can choose this one, for example. In the meantime, I also wanted to show you exactly. So new person, Facebook, iOS 14 questions. Exactly. So this next thing I wanted, that's one thing. So that Safari is already limiting how we can track customer interactions on the website, which obviously limits us on the one hand, if you want to measure exactly how many people have bought after they have seen an ad. If you cannot track them, we cannot really measure them, okay? And on the other hand, it also limits us a lot if you want to retarget people. So imagine that I sell these pens, Google pens. However, if I sell these pens and someone comes to my website, they add this to the shopping cart and don't buy, obviously I want to retarget them later on. Everyone who added to the shopping cart but didn't buy, I want to retarget. But if I cannot track them, I cannot retarget them. So that's a big issue. Like for me, all of these, attribution issues are one thing, which are obviously important, but which is much more challenging and important from my perspective is performance. So I spend 1,000 euros and I make 5,000 in return, or I spend 1,000 and I make only 3,000 or 500 in return. That's the bigger problem, which we're going to talk about today in a lot more detail. But what I wanted to show you at this moment is what exactly is going to happen with Facebook and Instagram, and actually not only these two platforms, but also other platforms like Pinterest, Snapchat, Google, etc., and all of these apps. So what is going to happen is this one. You're going to receive this push notification when you enter Facebook, for example, on your iPhone, and you're going to be asked, hey, are you going to allow Facebook to track your activity across other companies' apps and websites? And the default answer, the upper one is ask the app not to track. And the lower one is allow. And it's, of course, highly speculative to say now how many people are going to say allow, how many people are going to say not allow. Let's make a small question to make this interactive, guys. I don't want to bore you for an hour. Who of you is going to not accept it? Who of you is going to say, hey, my privacy really matters? I mean, it makes sense, right? Like I also don't want everyone to target me all day long. And who of you is going to say, no, I'm a wholehearted marketer. I really want to support my fellow performance marketers. And who is going to accept to be tracked? Only Jennifer. You're only going to do it for Ads Accelerator. You rock. That's the right. No, everyone can do what you want. And I also don't know exactly how many people are going to accept it and how many are not going to accept it. But there's another statistic which is very interesting, which comes from a German newspaper site, one of the biggest ones. And these cookie banners, like, do you accept the cookies, yes or no? What do you think? How many people in Germany accept the cookies and how many say, no, I don't accept the cookies? What do you think? How many people accept this cookie banner in Germany? Like 10%, 80%. What do you think, guys? Or let's make it cool. You can write some numbers here in the chat if you want, because then everyone can say something. Like, so what do you mean, Artur? Artur, 70% say yes or 70% say no? Don't put these cookies. 70% say yes. Yay, I like this interaction. It's actually fun to do this kind. It's my first live webinar in my life, to be honest. Like in this format, like I did obviously ever webinar, and before I did webinar jam, but it's not the same. You know, you don't see the faces. It's like you sitting alone here, but here I could get killed from anyone. You know, like everyone could like attack me. You know, it's no, but honestly, okay, cool, very interesting answers. The fact is that 70% of the internet users in Germany say no to the cookie banner. So only 30% say, yeah, you can place some cookies, I'm fine with that. And these banners are actually optimized for you to say yes. You know, like the yes button is big, and they're like in a way communicated like, hey, we would like to use, and it's rather likely that you say yes to that than to this thing here, where it says, are you going to allow to track your activity across all different companies' apps and websites? And the first answer per default, so to say the upper one, is ask app to not track, you know? So nobody knows how many people are going to accept and how many are not going to accept, but it's not likely that it's 50-50. Trust me, my friends, it's not 50-50. It's going to be the majority of people that's going to say no. And then the next question is, but hey, Adolfo, ¿cómo estamos? How are you doing?
We're doing fine. We're doing fine.
So what did we agree on the last time, Adolfo, in the last session? What's the percentage of iOS users versus Android users? Because that's the next question, right? Octavian, nice to see you.
Yeah, sorry for being late. I was trying to go online for the webinar.
No worries, no worries, all good. So what's the percentage? So we say, okay, iOS 14 obviously affects Apple users and not Samsung, Huawei, Android users, so to say. But how many people use iPhone? Like, what do you remember? Like, what did we find out, Adolfo?
Yeah, I think it was around 20%.
Yeah. It obviously depends on the country. Like in the United States, iOS has a stronger, well, Apple has a stronger market penetration. In Spain, it has a lower market penetration, for example. But in general, you can say, and also it's really difficult to find a really reliable number on that. Like if it's 19 or 22, it's not that easy to find a really, really reliable number on that. And as it also depends so heavily on the markets, in general, you can say it has more or less 20%. Is it 19 or 24 or 17? But it's roughly 1 out of 5 people that uses Facebook and Instagram are iPhone users. And 4 out of 5 people are Android users. So you could say now, hey, then why are we panicking so much? Because we all know the Pareto principle of 80-20. We should only focus on the 20% that matter for 80% of the outcome. So in this case, like, you know, why focusing so much on it? Well, because Facebook had to take the decision, are we going to, and they actually really were thinking about it for months, are we going to split up the ads manager in one ads manager for iOS and one ads manager for Android? And they were really debating on that for a couple of months, and it was not clear that they're going to stick with one ads manager that we still have now. It was a long discussion because they could have had a strong Android ads manager still with the 28 days post-click and 28 days post-view attribution, everything you want. They could have had a very strong Android ads manager and a relatively weak iOS ads manager. At the end, they decided to keep them together because of user simplicity. Because for us, it's easier, right? If we are advertisers, we enter one platform, we make our ads there, and that's it. But that's only the official story. The unofficial story is, who of you honestly thinks that Google is just going to lay back and say like, nah, privacy issues. Apple can solve that, but for Android users, we will never care about it. So obviously everything that's happening with iOS now is very likely that in a couple of months, or at least in a year, is happening also with Android. Okay, so for now it's the iPhone users, but come on guys, do you really think that in 2024, Android users, you can still track everything of them, but on iPhones not? And then Apple can always say, hey, buy iPhones if you don't want to have your data shared with everyone. You know, and that's not the reality. Samsung is not going to lose this battle like that. So it's likely that we're now talking about iPhone issues, so to say, but it's also realistic it's going to be about Android very soon. So that's a little bit from my side. And then we're now going to talk about the actual article from Facebook, which I am going to share once again now with all of you here in the chat, just for the ones who joined now. But maybe if you guys already have one or two urgent questions, anyone has a super urgent question to that so far? Juan, ¿cómo estamos? How are you doing? Any important question? I see almost all of you. Any questions? Any super important one? If not, I go chronologically through the ones in the chat a little bit to see which ones we should answer already now and which ones we're gonna leave for the Q&A session. Super interesting, Gaspi. Can you share that with the other guys? That's super interesting.
Sure, I don't have the document here, but like before everything happened, I broke down to see the devices that people were using in the US, and it was iOS on top by a lot. So yeah.
Very interesting. And for you, maybe, who of you actually runs Facebook and Instagram ads already? Who of you invests in Facebook and Instagram ads? Nice. So something that you can easily do if you want to take this already as a first nugget. If you want, it's not a big thing, but it's practical. If you want to know exactly what's the percentage of iPhone users in your audience, it's very easy. Like, because everyone has a different audience. My audience are digital marketers that want to learn Facebook and Instagram ads. So that's my buyer persona, that's my audience. And in this audience, typically they also are very likely to use iPhone. Over-representatively high likelihood of being iPhone users than Android. Like it's just a little bit like that. But there are other markets where it's different. Any one of you knows how to find it out? Like, for example, if you target, or let's make it easy, in my case, digital marketers in Germany, for example, how can I know how many of them are iPhone users? Any idea? Just raise your hand if you want, guys. It's like in Clubhouse. If you say something smart, all of the other guys are going to follow you.
Breakdown.
Oh, that's a good point. That's a good point, Adolfo. I'm not gonna say it now. I'm gonna say it a little bit later because that's a bomb. That's a real bomb. What's going to happen with breakdowns? What else? What else besides break? But you're right, obviously, Adolfo. With breakdowns, you can know it. What else? Any other idea? Say it, Mark. Stage is yours.
View chart.
View chart. That's a possibility. Agree. Exactly. Very good round here. What else? Thibaut.
Audience, and you select only iPhone device.
Exactly. That's what I was also thinking about. So if you are on ad set level, for example, you select an audience. You select, country, Germany, men and women between 20 and 40 years. And on the right side at the top, you always see the potential reach, right? You always see how many people are in this audience. Let's say 4 million people. And if you then narrow down the audience, right? You narrow down the audience by behavior, operating system, iOS, then all of a sudden this audience reach is going to be lower. It's not going to be 4 million anymore. It's going to be, let's say, 2 million. And then you can, calculate that it's 50% of my actual audience that I want to impact actually are iPhone users. But it also doesn't matter so much because, as I told you, Android is very likely that in a couple of months they're gonna bring us the same headache. Okay, so ready for the hottest update from Facebook. And I truly believe that this is the most updated article that you can find and also the most trustworthy one, because if you Google iOS 14 update Facebook, there are like 10 different gurus that talk about it, and everyone has a different opinion and everyone says something different. So I do not trust anyone anymore. I only trust what Facebook says. I mean, also you have to be critical what they say, but at least if you have to trust anyone, then trust what Facebook says, right? So let's go to that article here. You have it in the chat, so you can also read through it alone. We're not gonna read now word by word, but it's a good backbone of this presentation. The first thing that they mention here, and which I think is super important, is the so-called resource center. Okay, because iOS 14, what should we do now? Everyone's panicking and stuff. Yes, and we could talk hours about the theory behind it, but I personally like to talk more about practical action items, what you can really do. And we're gonna, at the end, you're gonna have like a checklist of things that you can do and you should do. But my honest recommendation is inside your own ad account, you have the ad level, you have ad sets, you have campaigns, and you have this resource center. And here, as Facebook is panicking right now, they put here directly the actual tasks and actions that can help you to prepare your ad account for iOS 14 changes. And I'm sure that many of you have joined today's session because you want to know which are the action items. What can I do now? Well, that's what you can do. That's what you should do. Everything here. You should verify your domain. You need to make sure which are the 8 conversion events. No worries. We're gonna, if it sounds like I don't know, if it sounds German to you, and if you do not speak German, we're gonna talk about that in more detail anyways. But what should you do? Which actions should you take? Well, you should verify your website domain. That's what they indicate you here. And if you click on it, you know, like if you click on verify domain, it takes you where you need to do that. You know, like I could talk for hours about the theory, but I think it's super relevant, and it's important that you just go inside your own ad account and you follow these action items. If you click on verify domain, it takes you exactly here, for example, to the brand safety in your business settings. And here you have to add your domain. And if you add a new domain, let's say, for example, patrickwind.com, you see, I have not even verified it yet. So patrickwind.com, I verified adsaccelerator.com, for example. Okay, and that's something that every one of you should do, and everyone has to do that. If you run Facebook ads inside this business manager, you have to verify the domain to which you're going to bring the traffic to. So I have more or less verified it, but not really, right? This one now. Like that's the one I already had previously. That's the one that I just did now as a little example. And you have 3 ways to verify it, okay? DNS verification, HTML file upload, and meta tag verification. Everything sounds very complicated if you're not a programmer, okay? But to be super honest, it's 2 clicks if you know what to do, and it's very easy. So you can obviously do DNS verification or the HTML file upload, but what I did, and which is very, very, very easy for all of you, is, I mean, for what I've done here was easy, right? I click on add, take patrickwind.com and add, and then I have to verify it somehow. And what I recommend you, which is super easy to do, is you just go on meta tag verification, and then it says, add this meta tag to the head section in the HTML of your domain page. So I basically copy this clipboard. So I'm sorry, I just copied this snippet here. And what I did is my website is hosted on Kajabi, for example, which is like a Shopify, but for online courses. And here inside details, that's where I have also implemented the Facebook pixel, for example, the base code. It's here in my header, in the scripts of the header page script. You know, like here I have tons of pixels. I have my Google, it's for my Google ads. I have my Google Tag Manager. That's what I have in the header of my page. My Taboola pixel, Facebook pixel, you know, like stuff. And here, for example, I verified, that's the way that I verified adsaccelerator.com. This is not going to work now because it's for a different domain, which is patrickwind.com, something I have in WordPress. So I just have to log into WordPress, go to the header section, and, you know, just copy paste this there. and save. Any question to that, guys? Because honestly, that's the first thing that every one of you should do. Who of you has already done it? Who of you has already verified a domain? Very good, Chris, Joel, Jennifer, Claudio, nice, Gaspi, Juan, obviamente, Adolfo, Octavian, hasn't done it yet?
Because I have a problem. I created an account and it was not approved by Facebook. It was a business account and I had to do from my personal account, the business manager.
Okay, got it.
I did it, but not through the meta tag. I did it through the DNS verification.
And where did you have the DNS verification exactly? Like I, for example, have it in Cloudflare, so you could also just log in there and do it, right?
In this particular case, what I did is on Shopify, I had to go to Shopify to the TXT, DNS section TXT. I pasted the code there, and then after a couple of days, I just did the DNS check on our webpage to check everything was working fine, and that's it.
Got it. Gaspi asked a very smart and great question that we're going to talk about in more detail. Yeah, I think we're gonna talk about it in the Q&A session. How long are you gonna stay, Gaspi?
Until the end.
Perfect. So we're gonna talk about that for sure, because
Cool.
if any one of you has a website on ClickFunnels, for example, or on Wix, or on Perspective Funnel, it's a big pain in the ass right now. It's not easy at all. Like I have already spent like 40 hours talking to the support of ClickFunnels, and they're the ones who have a big problem right now, like a big problem. And they're most likely going to solve that with whatever, with subdomains. So I don't know yet, but for now there is no real solution. So Gaspi, I'm gonna present you a couple of solutions. And my favorite solution is to make you, or to have one domain of yours and position it as at the same hierarchy level as ClickFunnels, which redirects to the other one. But I'm going to enter in more detail later, because if not, people are going to be like confused. They were like, we have not even talked about the other action items. So that's the first thing that all of you should do and have to do. And it's not just something that, I made up on my own, that you need to verify that. It's something that, Facebook also here in the report, they say, first thing, resource center. And in the resource center, the first thing they tell you, is verify your domain. That's one thing. What else do they tell us in the resource center? Well, as I told you, here they tell me review pixels that will no longer have available conversion events. Aggregated event measurement will let advertisers send up to 8 different events from a single website domain through the Facebook pixel. Okay, so far so good. What is all of that? Event management. And why 8 events? So what are conversion events to start off? Who of you would like to explain that? So what are conversion events exactly, guys? Who's motivated? Where are you guys? Are you sleeping?
I'll go.
Still breathing?
I'll go.
Perfect. Shoot for it.
Okay, the conversion events are the events that should, once you made that conversion on the website, let's say, for example, an add to cart event, an initiate checkout, view content, or purchase. But the conversion events are more into the lower stages of a funnel and usually have a value, monetary value.
Exactly. Let me show it to you in my ad account once again to make this not theoretical but actually practical. Once again, I told you, go into this resource center and honestly follow these steps there. I showed you verify your domain. If you click here, it brings you directly to brand safety. You can also go there on your own if you want to. Just go to business settings, and inside business settings, you click on domains. Yes, brands, business settings, brand safety, domains, and that's where you edit. Okay, so we are now in the resource center. The second thing that they tell us is review pixels, and with the 8 different events. So if I click here on review pixels, it takes me to the events manager. Okay, introducing Acquery. You can skip that for now. And you see that there are different domains that send traffic to my business manager. And as you have very well said, Gaspi, what happens with Webinar Jam? Well, it's a pain in the ass, my friend. Owned by another
I'm seeing the
business.
same.
Well, because it's not you, and also, it's also not me who own the domain webinarjam.com. So it's a problem. It's a problem because we cannot verify the events there. So if you click on this one here, for example, these are the events that are the ones with the most volume, so to say, according to the Facebook data from my funnel. But if you only take a look at these numbers here, you can most likely assume that before the number 3, there's also number 2 and a number 1, and there's also number 4 that I'm honestly losing now from one day to the other, because I was tracking significantly more than 8 events. Like let's take this example at accelerator.com/free training. So that's because I have this thing in my head from Peter Drucker, who said, if you cannot measure it, you cannot manage it. And therefore I'm like a super freak when it comes to measurement. I really measure every single step, which is not going to be possible anymore now. But what I did, for example, like the first step, if it's just on the landing page, step 1, free training. Even step 2, when it opens up this little box here, I also, to measure how many people actually click on that, that's like number 2 box. And if someone fills it out, Patrick, hey, Patrick, test webinar. .com. If someone fills it out, why? Maybe it's because I'm already registered. Well, it also doesn't matter too much, but it would be very interesting why this happens. Also very good that it says 2020, right? Would be pretty interesting to update that. However, so the next page where someone comes to is obviously the thank you page for having signed up, which is then event number 3. So you can already imagine that I have quite a couple events that I measure, but now I have to manually decide which are the 8 ones that I'm going to stick with, because there are many that will not, that are not going to be able to continue tracking. What else? Well, domain verification, we talked about that. Plan for 8 conversion events per domain. There is something that is called value optimization. Okay, value optimization is very important for you if you run ads in an e-commerce environment. You remember these 8 events that you have seen on my screen, like purchase, someone signed up for the webinar, someone participating in the webinar. Well, when it comes to purchase, you can go one step deeper, and you can also optimize on people that pay the highest value prices. For example, if I sell these bottles and pens on my web shop, I can optimize for purchase, and Facebook will try to bring me people that buy something. But this I sell for 2 euros, and this I sell for 20 euros. And in the pack, I sell it for 21 euros, you know? So if you optimize for value, the algorithm would not bring you anyone who buys, like this one or that one, but it will bring you typically people that tend to pay the highest price when they buy online. And for whatever weird reason on earth, if you activate value optimization now in your ad account, this is going to count as 4 events. So out of the 8 events that you can still measure, like purchase, add to cart, view content, initiate checkout, in the moment where you activate value optimization, this is going to count for 4 events. No one knows why. Maybe because, well, the reason behind it is obvious. The reason behind it is because it takes more privacy it takes even more personal data, so to say. But yeah, it takes 4 events. So you only have 4 additional events left. So I personally right now do not use value optimization, which you can activate or deactivate. And in my case, I do not use it anymore. No worries, guys. There are going to be a lot of additional things and takeaways for you but that's what I said right now. You will be able to have a maximum of 8 value sets. Note, turning on these value sets will automatically use 4 out of the 8 events allowed for campaign optimization and reporting, given a certain domain. Now we're going to enter a topic which, if it would not be written here in black letters on a white background, I would not even dare to communicate it to you guys. But retargeting is in honest danger. Like, one of the most beautiful things that we were able to do all day long with Facebook and Instagram ads is Adolfo, a good friend of mine, comes to my website, watches the webinar, and for a weird reason, he doesn't buy the course. Well, from this moment on, he's in my funnel, and I'm going to annoy him for a couple of weeks and months with my retargeting ads, testimonials, whatever. And that's retargeting. And take a look at the official statement of Facebook. That's not something that's, you know, any guru or whoever says that, but Facebook says, your retargeting may see performance and audience size decrease. I mean, what does it mean? They say on their own that retargeting is going to see a performance decrease because they're going to be able to track less and less people. And that is going to open up a huge discussion, which we can discuss later. And what should we do now? Should we, you know, lower our ad spend because it's not going to work anymore as well as it did? Or should we go hard right now because we still have like 6 months of data from the past 180 days? So now or never mindset. Depends on your business, depends on the industry that you're in. But just on a personal note, like our webinar funnel, like I lowered the budget now. I lowered the budget because it's very uncertain in this specific moment. There are so many things from one day to the other, that thousands of things that change. What I did is I lowered the front end ads for people who sign up for the webinar, but I go relatively hard on retargeting because I still have like 6 months of data. Like if Adolfo has visited the webinar but hasn't signed up for the course in November, I still know him. I still have tracked him. But if Adolfo's brother, whose name is Juan, comes to my website in a month, I cannot guarantee you that you're going to be able to re-impact Juan for the next couple of months afterwards. So what I do now is I lowered front-end investment, but I go hard on retargeting because I still have their data and I'm still going to impact them. Additional things that are important now. Measurement, because these are basically, as I said already in the beginning, the 2 main pain points are retargeting and measurement. And there's also a third one that we can discuss also in the Q&A session, which is the optimization of the algorithm with less data points, but it's a little bit technical. But let's talk about measurement, because additional to all of these issues, they're also cutting away the longer time attribution windows. So before, what was the default attribution window before all of these changes? Who knows it? Like in our ad account, anyone who has not said anything. Come on, guys, I want you to be active. Like I see Arthur, and it's getting darker and darker, and you're getting more and more tired, and you're like, it's a long Tuesday. I've worked all day long. Patrick, leave me alone. But what was the default? but come on, guys. Exactly, Martin. Martin, where are you? Because I have like a couple of screens here. Martin, exactly, it was 28 days, but 28 days click and 1 day post view, right? And now it has changed. Which is the new default attribution window now? Who knows it? You can put it in the
7 days.
7 days.
7 days.
Exactly, Jennifer. 7 day click. And how many days view?
1, right?
I actually love you guys because I thought the same, but it's not true. So it's 7 day click and no view attribution per default. You can activate the 1 day view attribution, but default is not that. If you do not change it, per default, it's 7 day click and 0 view. I just realized when preparing for this webinar that the view attribution is gone per default. You can still compare attribution windows and stuff, but per default, it's just 7-day click attribution. So what does that mean for us if we are performance marketers? Like, for example, Juan, who runs Facebook ads to generate leads for restaurants, for example. Well, you know, in the past, if they gave you 1,000 euro in budget, you generated maybe 100 leads for them. So the cost per lead was 10 euros, but based on a long attribution window. Or for your e-commerce, the one from the past one, you know, like with 1,000 euros, you generated 100 leads, but based on a longer attribution window. Now the attribution window completely loses the view attribution. So it only counts people when they clicked on the ad, and only for 7 days. So it's likely that out of these 100 people, only 50 have actually clicked on the ad and have actually done this in the first 7 days. And the other 50 of your 100 leads have come through view attribution or something between day 7 and day 28. So what is going to happen in reality is that in your ads manager dashboard, you're only going to see 50 leads now. And your client is going to ask you, but Juan, you're not going, what are you doing? The CPL has increased from 10 to 20. You know, it's a big thing when it comes to attribution. But as I said, for me, attribution is a secondary issue because at the end, the leads are still entering on their platform. You know, on their website, they still have 100 people. It's just Facebook that's not attributing properly. But for me as a business, so for me as a performance marketer, it's a problem, especially if I get commission based on the ROAS that I generate. You know, that's a big issue. For me as a business owner, taking my own money from my own credit card, I don't care so much about attribution. I know I spend 1,000 in my bank account, I get 5,000 based on the sales. I mainly run Facebook and Instagram ads. I'm okay-ish with that. Okay, I'm much more concerned about retargeting, and I'm also concerned about what I told you, which is the algorithm optimization. So wait for it. That's a big one now. For the ones of you who run broad targeting, so who of you runs broad targeting? So you run ads and an audience setting instead of selecting a lookalike audience, instead of doing custom audience, instead of going interest-based, you do broad targeting. So you basically just say men or women between 20 and 40 in Spain. And then boom, my audience is 4 million or 5 million people. Who of you does that? Who of you runs broad targeting? Exactly, which is a good idea, Kike, which is a good idea, Daniel and Jennifer. The thing is, Facebook also doesn't do black magic with that. You know, it's not that they have some, you know, like a crystal ball and then they do magic. No, it's just based on, you know, data points, conversion events that they track. So they shoot to like a big audience, and then they get data signals of people who buy, and then they narrow down this audience and focus on the highly converting area. But if they are now not getting conversion events, because, you know, like Apple is not allowing to track these conversion events, how is this machine going to work? And I tell you, it is not going to work as well as it did until now. And that's a sad reality. And that worries me a lot, because my broad targeting works always very well if the pixel has some data. You know, if your pixel has already been nurtured, and nurtured means with like 5,000, 10,000 euros spent, it's already going pretty well. The more you have spent, the more events you have gathered, the better it works, obviously. But that's a big issue. And I have still one additional bomb that I wanted to drop, which really, really affects my life. And I'm sure that many of yours are also going to be affected. Who of you uses breakdowns or desgloses in Castellano? Breakdowns to analyze your data, like a breakdown analysis. So a breakdown analysis, who is going to explain? Someone who haven't said, Kike, what is a breakdown analysis? Te toca.
You hear me?
Yes.
Just you, I don't know how to say it really, but somewhere where you actually break down. So for example, if you're using a dynamic ad, you use the breakdown to see if the video is what got you the sale, in case you have an e-commerce, or what headline got you the sale. So or if you're, for example, targeting, I don't know, many countries at the same time, you go to the breakdown to see what countries you're getting the sales from.
Exactly, completely right. So imagine that you're targeting Europe, right? You spend 1,000 euros, so we make 5,000 euros in sales, but Europe is composed out of different countries. So you can break down by Germany, Austria, Spain, Switzerland, Netherlands, and you see, oh, out of these 5,000 euros, 2,000 come from Germany, 1,800 come from the Netherlands. And typically you break down also by age, by gender, you break down by, by operating system, iOS or Android, you break down by placements, is Instagram stories or Facebook mobile newsfeed. And big news, very sad news, these breakdowns are going to be gone in 2 weeks. And that's a really big pain in the ass. Also in my course, like I think in every third video, I talk about these breakdowns and that they're super cool because based on that, you can narrow down your audience and you can get some insights, run some A/B tests. That's a problem. It's a big problem. And action item for you guys, when you run ads for your own business or for a client, I strongly recommend you to make use of the data that you still have available now on the 2nd of February, because in 2 weeks, it might be gone. Okay? So what I did preparing this webinar with you guys is I mean, you can also download reports and stuff, but I'm pretty old school in these things. So what I did is I just opened up a document, a Word document, and took tons of screenshots in my ad account of the most spending campaigns. I broke them down. For example, in one campaign, I spend whatever, 8,000 euros. In another one, 10,000, whatever. I open it up and really see how many women have bought, how many men have bought, how are the iPhone users versus the Android users, how were the younger generation versus the older generation, because all of these insights, they might be gone in 2 weeks and you cannot recuperate them. Once they're gone, they're gone. Siran, shoot for it.
Yeah. So what about actually like future information? So if you will run a new campaign or something, so the breakdowns and information would not come back again either, or is it only the historical information?
Yeah, as far as I understand, it's gonna be simply
forever.
it's simply not gonna be possible to click on that breakdown button for these specific actions.
Okay. Wow. Okay.
Which, like here, they.
And Patrick, do we know why?
Well, for data protection, for privacy, but how this is going to help significantly more to protect my data, Thibaut, my friend, I don't know it. Like why exactly this is going to help significantly protecting my data? It's a very good question. You see, like delivery and action breakdowns will not be supported. And all of the good ones are delivery and action breakdowns. They're all the good ones, you know, like age, gender, operating system. They're the ones that I typically use. So yeah, that was it from the theoretical part. I've also shown you a couple of insights already in my ad account because it fitted in very well. What about you guys? We have a couple of questions. I would say to make this in the most efficient way, to start now with our Q&A session, I'm still here until like, at least 20 more minutes. If it takes a little bit longer, no worries. I would start with the first one and go all the way down. Henrik, once again, yes, it is recorded and I will send you an email once it is exported. Björn, where are you? Björn, are you here? Yes? No? If not, Björn just asked, are you here, Björn, or not? No, seems like not. He said something about people trying to frame people against this pop-up. So if you want to click on, the link, let's see the content that he shared. I think it's interesting. Let's go here. Facebook is testing a new in-app screen to convince users to opt in. Hey, that's actually pretty cool. So the one that I showed you, you know, this one, which is like very likely that people are going to say no. Facebook tries to, you know, explain in more detail why it's a great idea to share your data with them. Okay. What else do we have? What about people in other areas in Europe? Well, good question, Ginny. What I would say is I would recommend you this hack that I told you with the audience, you know, on ad set level. You just narrow down, you select your audience, for example, for which country matters to you? Like Germany, like France?
So I'm currently in the UK.
Yeah.
So yeah, UK.
Yeah. If you want to, let's see if we can also do this together. Yeah. Because I think it's, if you want to, we can do this together. So basically what I did is inside my ads manager, I go to audiences. What I always recommend you guys, I would not just click here, right? I always, on my MacBook, I click Command and then left mouse. So that opens up a new tab. I mean, it's an easy one, but it saves my life at least 1 minute every single day. So what I would still appreciate would be a much faster internet connection, but it is what it is until this has loaded. So basically what I want to show you is create audience, you create a saved audience, or if you're on ad set level, you just create, you just create the audience there. And that's the tool, more or less, like this potential audience, potential reach. We said UK.
Oh no, that's not my question. So I know how to target people in the UK.
Okay.
My question was more about like, so you mentioned how like 70% of people in Germany opted out of cookies. So I was wondering, because Germans are usually more kind of privacy conscious, so I'm just wondering if people in other countries are equally privacy conscious.
That is a very good question that I am afraid I might not be able to answer you here with this tool. But what I can answer you is what's the percentage of iOS users in the UK. That's what you can do here. And especially for your audience, for example, if your audience are, what's your audience, Ginny, typically, like marketers or entrepreneurs, or what's typically?
Art collectors, actually.
Collectors?
Art collectors.
Art collectors, got it. Art collecting, got it. So your audience would be, let's assume that it's men and women of all age. So like roughly 1,880,000. And now the thing is, the trick that I wanted to share, and it's also not rocket science, but just narrow down. And here in behaviors, mobile device users, and you can take here the ones that are iPhone users. Where is it exactly? Well, if not, you just search it here. Apple. All.
iPhone, maybe?
Sí, pero son muchos, ¿sabes? So where is it exactly? It's in here.
You've been right there, Patrick, but it said iOS users, but you clicked it.
Where is
behaviors,
it?
Behaviors.
Yeah.
And then mobile device user, and then by operating system. You just passed it.
Am I blind? Where is it?
No, go to the top again. Yeah, there. And then
here.
it says iOS device.
Muchas gracias, senor. Thanks a lot. So Facebook access Apple iOS devices. See, Android, iOS. Android, iOS. And these numbers are obviously from the entire worldwide population of Facebook, which is like the sum of these two, actually. So like 2.2 billion, but we're now only in the UK and only focusing on art collectors. So out of them, we had 880,000. Yeah, it seems that it's 10% in the UK of the art collectors, which is relatively low, to be honest, because I know that in the US it would be higher. I don't know why art collectors are more likely to use Android according to this number, but it is what it is.
Yeah, thank you.
You're more than welcome, Ginny. Gaspi, yes, there you are. No, actually, your question with the 65% was good. You want to talk about Webinar Jam. How did you solve it?
I haven't been able to.
Yeah.
So I have 2 domains. The one that we own, there's no problem, and then we can't verify the one from Webinar Jam.
Yes, and it says the same that it says in mine, right? That it's owned by a, you see, that it's owned by a different business, which is Webinar Jam and not us.
Correct.
Exactly here. It's here in Event Manager. Yeah, and potential solutions. What's your war plan right now? What's your action plan to do it?
So the thing is that inside Webinar Jam, we're tracking custom events of view webinar, replay, etc. So they are not like bottom of the funnel events. So the idea would be to optimize directly to the final purchase, which happens in the verified domain, and just don't have that data.
So you basically
so only have like the lead data, like the top of the funnel, and then the bottom of the funnel, and this middle of people that view webinar, etc. Look at it inside Webinar Jam, and that's it.
Yeah. Any other comment? Any other idea to that, guys? Hendrik, Arthur, Björn, something that popped up to you? How you would solve it for Gaspi? Anyone else? The thing is, I talked, as I told you, with the guys from ClickFunnels, which is not Webinar Jam, but Webinar Jam is, by the way, from Genesis. That's the company behind it. And they have to come up with a solution, because for now it's not solvable. It's exactly as you said, Gaspi. You just take it as a black box. That is what it is. Yeah. Unfortunately, I worked with. I tried to find a workaround with redirects. You know, like I would bring the traffic to, instead of Ads Accelerator, let's call Ads Accelerators. .de, for example, and this would redirect to Webinar Jam immediately, you know, in the DNS settings. But this is also not going to work, because it's not in the, according to the terms and conditions of Facebook, to do this kind of immediate redirects.
Yeah,
so somehow give me ownership of the first URL, you know, but then it's not really, well, it has the risk of getting your account blocked, which is also not the best solution.
Yeah, which is happening a lot.
Exactly. So let's continue with, it's very much related from the question of Mark Alvin. Mark, are you here? There you go. Feel free.
Yes, I'm here.
Ask your question.
Yeah, my client has a website. Her website is on Wix, but she already installed a custom domain. So is it possible to still get easily verified the Facebook, because they already installed a custom domain?
I have good news for you. I had the same issue, not with Wix, but with Perspective Funnel, with a guy from our mastermind in Germany, just like 2 hours ago. And at the moment that you have a custom domain, like I said, for example, adsaccelerators.de or whatever, and you have that connected either with Wix or with Perspective Funnel, at the moment if you have a custom domain, you can easily verify that, because you're the owner of it. Simply what I would do is exactly what I've shown you here in Kajabi. So to verify it, you just take here, you add the custom domain, www, the custom domain name.com. And then instead of, I mean, you can do this DNS verification or HTML if you want, but it's the easiest with this meta tag verification. You take this one, and then, I mean, in my case, it's Kajabi, but you can also do this in Wix. You just go to the header and you copy paste it there. So here. And actually, no, then in Wix you can do this in the site settings. You can put in some tracking stuff in the header. So good news, Mark. Yes, it's definitely gonna work.
Thank you.
Finally, some good news after not so great content when it comes to positivity so far. What else? Martin, now I can't see the average amount of. Hey, I like the question. Martin, are you here? No?
Yes, yes.
There you go. Martin.
Hello, everyone.
Okay, good evening. So can you explain the issue? Because I think it's important for everyone.
Vea que la había puesto un poco más arriba y ahora no me acuerdo.
Lo de los totales, ¿sabes? Que no ves el promedio.
Ah, sí, que no veo el promedio. I don't see the average, the amount spent, the average amount spent on the Facebook platform.
Exactly. So who of you has faced the same issue in the last 2 weeks, that the totals or the averages do not show up? Joel, how did you solve it?
Okay, yeah, I select the specific campaign that I'm where I want to look at my ROAS, and then I will select the ad set, and in the ad set I can see my total ROAS most of the times.
Exactly. So there are a couple of things that you need to do. Os lo voy a enseñar, Martin. So here, welcome to my ads manager once again. Here we have a couple of campaigns that are active, for example, now in February. And as I told you, we're really, doing some experiments now. The first thing that you have to install in your dashboard or implement in your dashboard, and for you, Joel, I don't know if you have implemented or not, but I recommend it. This column, which is called Attribution Setting, I recommend you to have it here in order to do these little tricks. So for the others, like the breakdowns that we've been discussing are here. Breakdown by time, delivery. Let's say, for example, here by age. Okay, just to show you what we've been discussing before. So I could easily say, okay, out of the leads that we've generated in this age group, so these are the breakdowns. And unfortunately, they're not going to be available for us in a couple of days, 2 weeks more or less. Okay, this is our dashboard. And I recommend you to use the full funnel dashboard, obviously, to open up this black box as much as you can. And there is this additional column that I added, which is called Attribution Setting. Okay, so you basically just go here, search for Attribution Setting. Okay, and the Attribution Setting will show you if it's 7 days post-click, 1 day post-view, or if it used to be 28 days and all of these things. And once you edit, it will show up at the bottom, and then you just take it all the way up. Instead of just clicking on apply, you click to save as present. Save it, for example, as full funnel, apply, and then that's it. For now, I just cancel, but typically you would click on apply and you're good to go. And then the reason, Martin, the real reason, and also for you, Joel, why these averages, these totals did not show up are because these campaigns had different attribution settings. They still had the normal 28-day, 1 day, 28-day click, 1 day view attribution, and you had to update them. Everything needs to be 7 days. Okay, everything needs to be changed automatically. Okay, and how is this done? Well, let's take an older campaign, for example, or let's say this one would be an older campaign. If it would be 7 day. If it would be still 28 days, it's a really, well, let's make it like this. Filter by selection. Let's get rid of this active. Let's say it's this one. Let's say this one still says here 28 days. So what I would do is I would deactivate it. then I would wait for it, 1 or 2 seconds, then I would activate it again. And because Facebook is now updating this interface and changing the default, it will get now the new attribution setting. So it would automatically change from 28 days to 7 days. And if it hasn't done it, you can also do it manually. You can go inside here. And at the very bottom of the ad set, you can change that, which was previously the conversion window, which is a different thing. It's now called attribution window, attribution setting, and you can change this here manually. Okay, you can change this also here to 7 days, and then you can publish. And why does all of this matter when it comes to showing the totals? Well, because everything needs to be homogeneous. They cannot be heterogeneous in order to show your results. Like here, like in all of the campaigns, I spent euros. Together, there's a total of that. If I would spend 55 euros, $39, 30 pounds, and 29 mark, whatever, what are they going to show me here as totals? They're mixed values, okay? And mixed values is also something that you can see here in results. Some of the campaigns optimize for this event, some of them optimize for that event. And at the end, they're not showing me a total here because there are multiple conversions. And whenever you have mixed values, they do not show you a total here. And the reason, my dear Joel and Martin, why you did not see a ROAS or the full amount spent, the total here, is because Facebook doesn't really know which attribution window you want to be reported on then, right? Because if one is like 28 days, the other one is 1 day, the other one is 7 days. So it's mixed values. So it don't give you a total. So everything needs to be the same. So if one of them would be 7 days click and 1 day view, and the other one would be 7 days click and 0 day view, it would also not show anything. Like, but obviously the first step that you have to take is adding this column of attribution settings in order to play this game. Because if not, you cannot even know which ones need to be updated. And if you see one of them, which is old, so to say, which has something different here, you just, I know it sounds stupid, but that is how it works right now. You deactivate it and activate it again, and then it updates to the new one. Or if it is already deactivated, then you have to activate it, wait a little bit and deactivate it. And sometimes it still doesn't work. Okay, so you have to go inside it and take all the ad sets that are inside this specific campaign. And as I've shown you, you go all the way down to where it used to be conversion windows, which is now called, as I said, attribution settings, and show more options, and you change it here manually. But that's the way right now to get your total spec. As I told you, I like this question. It's an important one. Más o menos claro, Martin, o no? Yes? No? Quizás? Maybe? I take this as a yes.
Yeah, gracias. Yes, thanks.
Muy bien. It's 6:43. Who of you still has an urgent, important question? Raise your hand, guys. Adolfo? Who else? Anyone else has an important, urgent question? Juan, ¿todo bien? ¿Ya con ganas de cenar? Te veo así con ganas. Jose, you need to activate your mic and then you can start.
Okay.
Ahora sí, ahora sí.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, very good, Jose.
Okay, Patrick, hi all.
¿Cómo estamos?
My question is, I bought the course some time ago, the Ads Accelerator course, but I haven't really had a chance to go through it. So obviously it's a big change and it's really gonna affect everything really. So how do you suggest I can go through the content? And also, well, is it kind of worth it because it's quite a long course and obviously my time is quite tight. So having to learn to adapt, how would you suggest me to go through?
What I would recommend you is first part of our AdsExcel. First of all, thanks for joining, Jose. Muchas gracias por formar parte de Ads Accelerator. And it's like, it seems even fake, you know, like at the end of the webinar, a client like, let's talk about the course now. But now but honestly, like
it's not fake at all.
But there are three components of our course, right? One is like the videos.
Yeah.
The second thing is that we have a Facebook support group. And the third thing, which we are officially presenting in this second now, is that from this week from first week of February on, we're also going to have live Q&A sessions once per week, not with me, but with one of the mentors for our program. And so what I would recommend you is, yes, go through the course, watch the videos, but what is even more important is that you apply the knowledge to your practical ad account or an account of your client. And whenever you face an issue, like for example, now with this iOS14 updates, like, hey, I need to verify the domain. I need to select these 8 conversion events, so on and so forth. Ask in our Facebook group.
Okay.
There are 4 mentors that are, that they are really good, and they answer in super fast and high quality. And also join these live Q&A sessions, and you can show your ad account there, like
Okay,
Thibaut does that. See or no? Thibaut, like you go into the accounts, you show.
Are there like certain areas which I should avoid, or just go through everything? My main issue or the main concern is learning things to then, it's going to be quite confusing for me. That's my main kind of question.
What kind of business are you going to promote with Facebook and Instagram?
Info products.
Well, with a webinar.
No, I'm gonna do like self auto liquidate. How do you call it? It's self liquidating ads. So basically, it's gonna be like a very cheap product offer, and then try to do the upsells.
Got it, like a tripwire, no?
Yes.
Tripwire. Okay. If you want to, you can also send me a message, and I'm gonna give you a little bit more detailed information what I would do in your case, because there's, as you said, there's a lot of information, but I can also guide you a little bit through which is the most relevant for you. What I would do if I would be you, I would do what I call cherry picking, like coger las cerezas de contenido que más te interesan. So I would just, walk through the beginner step-by-step guide, set up my own campaigns. And once again, not my course, not the course of anyone else, is really going to give you the same knowledge as if you just press the buttons on your own. And that is the best school on earth. I can guide you, I can share some templates, I can give you some insights, but the best school on earth is pressing the buttons. And therefore we have included this support group. We have the live Q&A sessions. And I think that's the best combination for you, like getting some inspiration, getting some ideas, but then apply it to your own ad account. And if you have questions, ask them all day long. You paid for it, right? So you paid for the support, then ask it. And that's going to be my best answer for now, because with all of these updates, everything changes from one day to the other right now. And maybe one last piece of advice for you guys before we give also the word to Adolfo, and then we finish the session for the days. If you invest in Facebook and Instagram ads in this second, don't be lazy, and please, for the next 2-3 weeks, enter in your ad account at least once a day. At least once a day, take a look at these resources that they give us, because it's honestly, like just pressing the buttons. Then once you're there, like here at the resource center, and they give you new information, like for me, they say replace ad sets that will be paused. It's pretty important, no? Because if my ad sets, they're going to be paused from one day to the other. Why are they going to be paused? Well, because they're optimizing for a conversion event, which is not one of the 8 that I've selected. So they say, well, then we're going to pause your ad sets. And I would have not realized that they're going to do that if I would have not entered today. So what I would do is either replace ad sets, or take a look at them and manually change the conversion event for optimization. But these are things that you're going to have to do during the next couple of days. So just dedicate 5 minutes a day and enter, because it's really worth it. Adolfo, last question, and then we're good to go.
Okay, yeah, I have something regarding the tracking, because you know that I don't know how it's going to work out with Google, but if you have good analytics, then you can do some analysis on the platform by putting some some segments on the browsers. Let's say iOS 14, 14.1, 14.2, like that. So wouldn't it be also a good idea to build some UTMs and track that information on Google Analytics?
Yes, I like it a lot. I like the idea a lot. And Adolfo is also part of our academy, and it seems like as if it would have been planned. If we would have planned it, it would have never ever turned out that well. Adolfo is actually doing some sessions where he shows Google Analytics, right?
Exactly.
So which is super important. And when it comes to one of these limitations from iOS 14, one of the big things was measurement. And what I recommend you guys is, well, we could either cry about it. We could either be very sad that, hey, Facebook doesn't, track that well and stuff. Or we could find alternative solutions, and Google Analytics is a great alternative. And one of the important takeaways is, if you can start to really put UTMs for your ads. So instead of just putting adsaccelerator.com, it adds like question mark and the source and the medium and stuff, so that you can then inside analytics really properly track if the sales have passed through this, let's call it sub URL, which is what the UTM more or less does. Okay, it's a great idea. So if you're not doing it, definitely work with UTMs. Friends, thank you very much for listening. Let me also briefly pitch a call to action after the webinar. If you liked what we have been talking about, and if you want more information about our programs, we have tons of amazing mentors in our program that would like to talk to you on the phone. Yay. And I'm going to send you via email a link if you want to. No worries, I know it's late. Just have a good afternoon, have a good evening. But if you want more information, I'm going to send a link via email with our Calendly. You can just select the slot which fits to you. You can talk to one of our mentors, and they can tell you exactly how you can optimize your Facebook and Instagram ads with our Ads Accelerator program, how you can become a highly paid digital marketer, like a freelancer, consultant, or an agency. We also have a mastermind with really advanced technical stuff. So if you're already at a certain level, that's also something that we have. So if you're interested in diving deeper into the world of Facebook and Instagram ads, just wait for our email, which is going to be sent in half an hour, more or less, with the link to Calendly. And once this replay is exported, I'm also going to send you the replay. Okay, but it's most likely going to be tomorrow, because I'm already hungry and I'm gonna have dinner now with my fiance. So guys, thank you very much and see you soon. All the best. Nos vemos. Un abrazo. Chao, chao.
Gracias, Patrick. Un
A
abrazo.
vosotros. A
Gracias,
ti.
Patrick. Chao, chao.
Gracias, Patrick.
Gracias, Patrick.
Yeah, gracias. A vosotros.
Gracias, Patrick.
Woohoo.
Bye.
Vaya bien, chicos. Goodbye, Octavian. Bye, bye. Mark, have a good one.
Bon profit, eh?
Bon profit. Moltes gràcies. A tu també.
Vinga.
Que vagi bé.
Adéu.
Adéu, adéu.